Bob, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, I'm Bob Gilbert. I'm country manager and head of sales for Rezdy, covering the Americas. And our offices are actually here. This is our hometown here in Las Vegas. We recently
Vegas
moved.
hometown.
Vegas hometown.
So you're used to the
although the accent doesn't necessarily go with a Vegas hometown.
You sound like a Vegas cowboy. This is
exactly.
That's not a Vegas accent?
No,
I'm confused.
You could say Montana, but not really. Yeah.
No, not really. Maybe some of the original cowboys that came over maybe were probably
way back then. Yes.
Yeah. So at Rezdy, so what does that mean when you have the Americas? You're responsible for obviously sales, but does that also involve managing suppliers and helping them as they get onboarded? Walk me through that.
The relationship with with the integration of the inside sales folks that we have, our customer success team, the what we call the T&I training and integration team, and our tech support is all housed here out of the Rezdy office. So, my role is really to ensure, I'm like if you will, an orchestra leader, making sure that we're fine-tuned, that we never forget that we are customer-focused, and just to keep things moving and growing and in tune with what our corporate offices are doing in Sydney. So we're constantly in contact, and between Sydney and here in Las Vegas, we really follow the sun.
I like that.
Well, it's the reality of the situation.
Good life to have.
It is. So, but from a customer standpoint, it means that there is always somebody there to help whenever help is needed.
So you've got a lot of interesting data, I imagine. You have a lot of suppliers coming through, and you have a lot of booking insights, I'm assuming, and kind of trends and things like that. What are you seeing in the recent months and maybe the past year with suppliers and the types of tours that they're maybe offering, and also the types of tours that have been popular, or anything along those lines that you could share?
And you're right, Nick. I mean, the amount of data that we see, that we touch, today. I mean, we generate or process through the Rezdy system in excess of $3 million a day.
And that's gross booking volume?
That is correct. So that comes from our travel providers, OTAs, smaller operators, tour operators, travel agencies. So we have that ability to see a lot. And so in terms of trends, what we are seeing, and it's an industry-wide trend really, and that is not specific to our industry, traveling activities, although I'd argue that I'm not sure if we're yet an industry. We're multiple segments, but one day we'll grow up to become an industry, a real industry per se. But we are seeing a tremendous spike in the amount of bookings, mobile bookings, and a lot of last-minute bookings. And so,
would you say that the last minute is mobile? I mean,
and I was going to say, because you can put those two together.
Okay.
So, number one, last-minute bookings, and it comes through various devices, and we're device agnostic, being a cloud-based system. But that last minute, and so if I kind of look at this from a holistic level, and you think, okay, what drives the decision to go to a destination? So if you're sat at home with your family, with your friends, with your buddies, and you go through the thought process. Okay, how about this destination, destination A, destination B, destination C, and you sit around and you don't use words like, what experience do we want, guys? That's not.
I'm so glad you said that. I was talking about this last night. Yes.
But it's true, right?
You don't say that.
You don't say that. Well, real people don't say that. We do. Not that we're not real people, but
sometimes we forget that we're real people.
I think sometimes we do.
We don't talk like.
Well, and so it's, what are we going to do when we get there? Which is a phrase that's often used, and that's the reality. So there's this consensus. Okay, we're going to go to Las Vegas because we want to do this, that, and the other. We want to go to Niagara Falls, check it off the list. And then you make that agreement, and so, yep, we're going to go to destination X. And then what you do is you book your air, you book your hotel, but you don't necessarily book the activities that were the key driver of that decision in the first place. You may if you go to Orlando, so you book your Universal or Disney SeaWorld, because you want to make sure you got that kind of packed in your suitcase before you leave.
Is it the feeling that because like a Disneyland has a maybe limited capacity where you think the Grand Canyon can just, it's the Grand Canyon, you don't need to plan, or?
Well, there's a degree of that, and I think it's more destination based. So Orlando is an anomaly. I think to a degree Vegas is an anomaly. And so you have those pre-booked, because many times you're staying in a hotel and it may be a Disney hotel, so you have that pre-booked, maybe a Universal hotel, and you have that part of the bundled package. But in general, in the selection of the activities and the things that you want to do, which was the primary decision trigger, is one that is left until you get in destination. And
why do you think that is? That's something that I would like to hear your thoughts on. Is it a fundamental human thing, or just people don't? Is it because I think maybe it's because booking a flight and booking a hotel takes so much mental energy already, making decisions, that you're kind of decision fatigued. Like you've already spent all this time. Just figure it out.
Right. I think it's easier, and I think that if you look at our segment, the travel and activity marketplace, as the third segment. So the airlines booking air has evolved over the years, and it's much more sophisticated, and so it has that history of development. Lodging, exactly the same, and so they're very well defined, and the marketing that goes behind OTAs with booking your air and getting the lowest price and the best connections and the lodging with best rate guarantees, but within a very fragmented travel activity industry, it's tougher. There's no kind of collective. I mean, there are over 30 different activity types. If you look at the Focusrite reviews, they kind of categorize into big buckets, 30 different activity segments. Within that, then you can break down subsets of that, and you get into about, I don't know, a couple of hundred. Within Rezdy, we have well over 200 different activity types within our portfolio in the 100 countries that is in the Rezdy footprint. So from a zip line to the Sydney Opera House, very two different kinds of activity, but nevertheless still come under the umbrella of the travel activity marketplace. So because it is so fragmented and there is no real collective, then it is tougher for a leisure traveler to pre-book, and so they leave it many times till they're in destination.
So with something like Rezdy, and obviously the ResTech, it's just blown up, right? There's so many different, very competitive, right? Because of a lot of competitors. But things are shifting as far as the hotels and the airlines and other booking areas kind of understanding, bringing tours and activities into the actual booking process. So do you think that will completely shift the way consumers think, that if I book a hotel and then actually get a really wonderful way to browse tours and activities afterwards or as part of the flow, that might help them make the bundles that, make that whole package up front? Do you think that'll shift, or do you think it's just tours and activities will always kind of feel like that 48 hours booking window?
I think it will evolve, and I think we're seeing the evolution now, hence this event. I think that's a landmark. I think that with destinations, if you're a DMO, if you're a destination marketing organization, and you tend to, number one, you're funded by mostly sales tax derived from lodging, and so you have to make sure that you're taking care of your lodging partners. But ultimately, if you're a destination and your goal is to increase visitation, have more people visit more often, and stay longer, one of the key drivers of having people stay longer is to show an array of activities, things to do, so you have to stay longer.
Yeah, you don't just come for a day because it's boring. Why did I come here? This destination is not fun.
Exactly right. I want to do more. So if somebody's going onto a destination site, and the destination has the list of different activities to see and do, then in a number of instances that does increase the length of stay. If that increases the length of stay, there's the economic impact on that community. The hotel community love it. because that's going to be increase their ADR and their just their revenue in general. So if we see more destinations marketing activities, and there's more companies like Rezdy offering that booking platform and the distribution side of that, then we'll see then I believe more pre-booked activities in the future.
We had, I guess, only briefly talked about this with one guest yesterday, but there's also the employment impact of tourism activities that, if there is that extra day tacked on, not only do hotels able to employ more people because they have, more capacity, or less capacity to deal with, but if there are more tourism activities providers who have an extra tour added on, it really does drive tourism forward.
It does. It has a tremendous impact upon communities across the country. If we look at the types of activities,